Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. We got a Thursday night AFC North battle here. Steelers on the road in Cleveland. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, we got Pittsburgh on the road in Cleveland. The Browns are catching 3.5 points at home. Total sitting at 36.5 across the board. Let's take a look at the pie charts, and action's coming in pretty one-sided on this one. 80% of the tickets, over 80% of the money coming in on the Steelers. As I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's get into this matchup, and we'll start with some trends. Not a trends guy personally, but for those of you looking for some trends, Pittsburgh 7-3 against the number in their last 10 matchups against Cleveland. So the Steelers have been covering in their matchups against the Browns, but most of their success against Cleveland has come at home in Pittsburgh. You can see, probably we're switched up. This graphic is the Browns. So the Browns numbers, their last 7 trips to Pittsburgh, they're 1-6 against the number, but look at their last 7 home games against the Steelers. They're 5-2 against the spread. So although Pittsburgh has covered against Cleveland, they do a much better job of it at home in Pittsburgh. Cleveland's actually been covering against the Steelers in the last 7 matchups at home in Cleveland. And check this one out. This one's crazy. Pittsburgh on the road in division games on Thursday Night Football. Never won ever. 0 wins lifetime. 0-7 straight up. In the Mike Tomlin era, 0-5. So the Steelers have never won in this situation. Thursday Night Football road division game, so not a great look there for Pittsburgh. In fact, they haven't been very good on the road in Thursday Night Football games, period. That's not completely unique to the Steelers. A lot of road teams struggle on Thursday Night Football. It's a short weekend. You have to travel. But the Steelers on the road on Thursday Night Football, 2-8 straight up under Mike Tomlin. So maybe not the best spot here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's match these two teams up on the field, and we'll start with the Steelers offense against the Browns defense. In my opinion, this graphic here is not an accurate representation of either of these two units. The Steelers offense, as I'm sure you probably know, it's been a lot more efficient with Russell Wilson at quarterback, and the Justin Fields games are mixed in with these. I think we know the Steelers offense with Russell Wilson is slightly better than 22nd in the NFL in yards per play, 25th in success rate. And the Browns defense, especially at home in these division games, we saw how they looked in the Baltimore game. I mean, at home against the Steelers in prime time, this Browns defense is not going to be 21st in DVOA. We know this defense can turn it on. They're completely healthy. This Browns defense can be elite when they want to. So what do we think of the matchup for Russell Wilson here? Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Cleveland Browns pass rush. Whenever you're traveling to Cleveland, you got to worry about the pass rush. First in pressure rate, 4th in adjusted sack rate. Russell Wilson under pressure, that's been a bit of a problem. His passer rating when given a clean pocket is a 111.8, 5th best in the NFL. When pressured, it drops to 50.1. That's 38th in the NFL. He's also got a 23.4% pressure to sack rate. That's 32nd in the NFL. So not a great look here for Russell Wilson. We definitely see his production take a huge dip when experiencing pressure, and he's on the road in a short week against the Cleveland pass rush. You don't like to see that at all. But before we flip to the next graphic, we have to take a look at the top right here. Blitz rate, 5th. Cleveland blitzes a lot, and the reason I'm pointing that out, Russell Wilson has actually been way better when blitzed. He's actually a top 10 quarterback when blitzed. 4th in yards per attempt, 13th in PFF passer grade, 1st in big time throw rate, 6th in passer rating. What this tells us is if you blitz Russell Wilson and you're unable to get there, if you don't get home, he will smoke you. So if you blitz Russell Wilson, the Browns are 5th in blitz rate, so they're blitzing. If they don't get there, Russell Wilson's going to cook them. That being said, kind of think the Browns are going to get there. I mean, they're 1st in pressure. Look at their pass rush numbers in the bottom right against the Steelers offensive line that's been injured, struggling in pass protection this entire season. The Steelers are 26th in pressure rate allowed. So yes, if you blitz Russell Wilson and don't get there, he'll kill you. I think they're going to get there. Keep in mind, this is a Cleveland Browns defense that's basically completely healthy. They are still missing the linebacker Owusu Koramoah. They're still missing him. Other than that, everyone's there. So they're coming for Russell Wilson, and I think they're going to have some success. But what about the coverage matchup for Russell Wilson? What about the Browns secondary? Well, Cleveland, just like last year, runs a lot of man coverage, a lot of single high safety looks. 4th in man coverage frequency, 2nd in single high safety frequency. Russell Wilson, significantly better numbers against man coverage. Completion percentage goes from 29th against zone to 17th against man. You can see the other numbers here, yards per attempt, passer rating, big time throw rate, all significantly better against man coverage. So that's a great look if you're betting the Steelers or if you're a Steelers fan. Russell Wilson, very nice numbers against man coverage. Browns run a lot of man coverage. Also, Russell Wilson, much better numbers against single high safety looks. In fact, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year against single high safety looks. 6th in yards per attempt, 2nd in passer rating, 1st in big time throw rate. So all right, this matchup is starting to look better for Russell Wilson. That pass rush is definitely going to be a problem with that Steelers offensive line that's been struggling. But when he gets his clean pockets, he should have plenty of opportunities to make throws. So all right, looking slightly better for Russell Wilson here. But what about the Steelers' run game? I mean, they run the ball a lot. We're talking about Russell Wilson in the passing attack. Steelers are 2nd in run frequency. This is an offense that's trying to run the ball. Now, the good news for the Steelers' offense is Cleveland's been struggling to stop the run. In their last 3 games, they're allowing 146 rushing yards per game, 6.44 yards per carry, 43.7% success rate per rush. Isn't terrible, but they've been getting run on. The thing is, I don't know how much I like this Steelers rushing attack. They're averaging over 133 rushing yards per game. That's because they hand the ball off a lot. 2nd in frequency. They hand the ball off all the time. Just 3.7 yards per carry, 33.4% success rate per rush is awful. So this is not a Steelers run game that I trust at all. On the road in Cleveland on a short week against a pissed off Browns defense coming off a bad loss, I don't like it. I think the Browns defensive front is going to dominate this matchup. I think Russell Wilson's going to be under a lot of pressure. Will he have some opportunities to make throws? Sure. But I like this matchup for the Browns defense. I think we're going to see a great effort. But what about the matchup on the other side? We got the Browns offense against the Steelers defense. And obviously, this is where we have a huge advantage on the Pittsburgh side. Steelers top 10 defense, I'd say. 9th in yards per play, 11th in success rate. Borderline top 10 numbers against the pass, top 7, top 8 numbers against the run. It's a pretty well-rounded defense. They've done a good job this year, although they have been getting run on in their last few games. We'll talk about it, but we know the Steelers defense has the significant edge over the Browns offense. Granted, to be fair to Cleveland, most of these numbers come from the Deshaun Watson era. Deshaun Watson was the quarterback for most of this season, and it was the least amount of production we've seen from the quarterback position in a decade, it feels like. So now that the Browns offensive line is healthy, now that Nick Chubb is healthy, now that Deshaun Watson is no longer playing quarterback, I wouldn't say the Browns offense is quite this bad. Regardless, a matchup against the Steelers defense is tough for Cleveland. Look at the discrepancy right here. The Steelers pass rush against the Browns pass protection. Now, we talked about this last week. The Steelers pass rush numbers are a little skewed, right? They're 26th in pressure rate, 20th in adjusted sack rate, but they're 1st in pass rush grade. The reason for this, the Steelers pass rush is so respected and so feared that teams literally come into the Steelers game with specific game plans to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands fast. Look at these numbers here. They're 6th in time to pressure, 6th in time to throw, 5th in time to sack. So this pass rush is dynamite. It's very effective. The reason they're not racking up pressures and racking up sacks is teams, when they play the Steelers, they draw up entire game plans to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands in a 3-step drop and a 5-step drop. They do whatever they can to take the Steelers pass rush out of the game. So the Steelers pass rush is so good that they're not racking up numbers because teams literally game plan to take it out of the game. And when we're looking at Jameis Winston's splits here, when given a clean pocket and when pressured, I got to give him some credit. His actual passing numbers when pressured are actually okay. 19th in yards per attempt, 16th in passer rating. So he is making some plays when he experiences pressure, but there's 2 numbers here that are wildly concerning. Number 1, 40th in turnover-worthy play rate when pressured, 9.1%. That's bad. So very prone to turnovers when he experiences pressure, and also 39th in pressure to sack rate. So when you put pressure on Jameis Winston, yeah, he'll make some throws and he'll make some plays, but he'll also turn the ball over, he'll put the ball in harm's way, and he'll take sacks. So a little concerning there, considering they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, like I said before, it's extremely important to point out that the Browns offensive line, well, there's still no Wills. It's not completely healthy. Wills wasn't playing very well, though, when he was in there. Specifically, I'm talking about Pochich, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin. Those 3 guys, center, right guard, right tackle. All 3 of those guys were missing time this year. They just came back within the last couple weeks. These 3 guys, according to Pro Football Focus, were number 1, 2, and 3 in blocking efficiency for the Cleveland Browns last year. So according to PFF, these were the 3 best pieces of the Browns offensive line. They all missed time. Conklin missed 5 games. I think Conklin missed 6 games. Teller missed 5 games. Pochich missed 2.5 games. They're all back now. So the Browns got the complete right side of their offensive line back. The reason I'm bringing this up is we were looking at the Browns offensive offensive line metrics before, 32nd in pressure rate. And I mentioned this before, it's not that bad. Now that the offensive line is healthy, it's not that bad. And another thing, there's a reason Lamar Jackson is terrible against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason is he holds onto the ball a long time. In fact, no quarterback in the NFL holds onto the ball longer than Lamar Jackson. So every time he plays the Steelers, who are one of the best defensive fronts in terms of getting to the quarterback quickly, yeah, he struggles. He has terrible lifetime numbers against the Steelers. The reason I'm bringing this up, Jameis Winston actually gets the ball out pretty quickly. 2.55 seconds. That's tied for 6th fastest in the NFL. Now, by no means am I saying, Jameis gets the ball out quickly. The Steelers' pass rush won't be a factor. Of course it will. It's the Steelers. They're going to make some plays. But the fact that Jameis Winston gets the ball out fast is huge when you're playing the Steelers. That's how you beat the Steelers. Get rid of the ball quickly. Now, what about the matchup for Jameis Winston against the Steelers secondary? Well, in terms of coverages, the Steelers run a lot of single high safety looks. In fact, the most in the NFL. They're first in single high safety frequency. Also, they run some cover 1, some cover 3, a lot of cover 3, actually. So why don't we look at Jameis Winston's numbers against these 3 sets right here. Against single high safeties, check this out. This is wild. I had to double check this. Jameis Winston leads the NFL. Want to know who's first in the NFL in pass rating against single high safety looks? Famous Jameis Winston, first in passer rating and first in turnover-worthy play rate against single high safety looks. Obviously, we're talking about a small sample size here, but we just saw the Steelers lead the NFL in single high safety frequency. No defense runs more single high safety looks than the Steelers, and Jameis Winston leads the NFL in passer rating against single high safety looks. Looking like it might be a solid matchup for famous Jameis. Also, his numbers against cover 3 are respectable. 19th in yards per attempt, 11th in passer rating, first in turnover-worthy play rate, and his numbers against cover 1 are excellent. This is no surprise. Cover 1, single high safeties, we're talking about a lot of the same plays here. But his numbers against cover 1 amongst 39 qualified quarterbacks, Jameis Winston, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Against cover 1, 3rd in completion percentage, 5th in yards per attempt, 2nd in pass rating, 2nd in big time throw rate, 1st in turnover-worthy play rate. Is Jameis Winston about to cook on Pittsburgh? So Jameis Winston, A, gets the ball out quickly, which is huge when you play the Steelers, and B, has excellent numbers against single high safety looks, cover 3 and cover 1, which is what the Steelers run. This is a good matchup for Jameis Winston. As long as he gets that ball out, tries his best to take the Steelers pass rush out of the game, Jameis Winston might be able to make some throws in this game. Now, here's where I'm worried for Cleveland. For whatever reason, they just can't seem to get Nick Chubb going. In their last 3 games, they're averaging just 3.4 yards per carry, 75 rushing yards per game, 32.5% success rate per rush is terrible. The run game just hasn't been there for Cleveland. Now, the good news for the Browns, the Steelers have been getting run on a little bit. In their last 3 games, they're allowing 5.3 yards per carry, 50% success rate per rush. So the Steelers' run defense also seems to be trending in the wrong direction. Now, the Steelers played Washington and Baltimore in those last 3 games, so a couple of tough rushing offenses, but still not sure how much faith I have in the Pittsburgh run defense right now. Earlier in the year was one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Maybe Chubb can run the ball a little bit. I personally don't think so, but maybe. It's not crazy. So where does that leave me in terms of placing a bet? You already know. Dog pound. I got it at 4.5. I think they win. I didn't bet the money line, though. I got Cleveland at plus 4.5. Love the bet. Steelers may win this game, but 4.5 is crazy. This number should be 2.5, honestly. I'm in. I bet this one. Cleveland plus 4.5. Let's do it. If you want to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on Open Bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone else on the staff here. Also, live show. Thursday. So this is 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to go through this game. We're going to go through the college football game. Good one. NC State, Georgia Tech. We'll go through the NBA slate. Same thing as we always do. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a great Thursday. Please remember to bet responsibly. Hit me up in the Discord if you need me.